If you want to see a show where the women are written as multi-layered characters with relatable... Sorry. If you want to see a beautiful Nollywood series about northern women navigating... am I on the right page? If you want to see a well-written show with no cleavage... Wow, am I actually watching a good show? Okay then, I welcome you to the review of Beyond the Veil, available on Prime Video, follows the lives of 5 women, Zizi, Naima, Badi, which is short for Badria, Halifa, and Sureya, as they navigate their personal relationships, business, marital life, and societal pressures. The show was created and directed by Nadia Ibrahim, and I just have to say right off the bat that it looks absolutely stunning, especially if you stream it on a big TV with surround sound. The show is refreshingly based on northern characters and infused with elements of Hausa culture, and I must say I found it quite refreshing. The camera work is great and everyone just seems to know what they are doing, but I will save my final thoughts for the conclusion of this video. So let us start with the main characters. So we have Zizi, who is the police orderly to some minister. I don't think the portfolio is actually ever named. She's always dressed in black, which I actually associate with the DSS, so I'm always a little confused when she reports to the police commissioner. She's supposed to be a stern tomboy, even though she punches exactly like a girl, runs like a girl, and is secretly entertaining the minister's son, Kasim, a fine boy who works as I don't even know. He just hovers around his mother's office all the time, as I assume real ministers' children will do once they have been exempted from ever working for a living. Zizi is also stepsister to Badi, an IG influencer who has more beauty than sense, though she received some interesting character development in the process of this show, because what men cannot destroy does not exist. She has the best styling in this show, and in a show that is full of great style, that's quite a feat. Again, Zizi is step cousin to Suraya, an out-of-state cousin who is currently staying with them and who has at some time been through a failed marriage. Now, this Suraya girl, for me, is really the most beautiful person in this show. Don't let her very beautiful cat's eyes and small body fool you though, because at first you think she's like a normal human being, and later you realize that you can comfortably describe her in maybe 3 ways. Number 1, Satan in hijab. Number 2, the devil wears Ankara, and number 3, witch wearing lipstick. Girl is just crazy. Naima is the daughter of the aforementioned minister and the beauty spa owner with mental illness or anxiety issues or something. She is close friends with Badi and Halifa, the last of the main characters that we are following. Now, Halima is the only married one among them, and she's married with 2 kids. Now, right off the bat, I have to say that everybody in this show is fine as hell. It's like they just dragged some models off a catwalk and asked them to act. Now, this show is like Smart Money Woman, but everybody is rich by default. They live in Abuja. There's absolutely zero cleavage, fantastic photography, editing, and writing. Okay. So maybe not like Smart Money Woman at all. Okay, so let's get started with the actual show. I'll be reviewing the 6 episodes that make up season 1 all at once, since I don't want to spend more than one video on this like I did for the Smart Money Woman. The season 1 is from 2022, so I don't know if this video will do well, but if it does, I might be willing to do a season 2 breakdown and review. Also, if you are still listening to the sound of my voice, this is very moment would be a good time to subscribe and like this video so that it can blow small. We open up the show with an introduction to Zizi, the minister's bodyguard. Now, Zizi has a close relationship with her grandfather, who she mostly stays with during the week. And guys, the house and the interior decor in these shows is just stunning. Zizi's grandfather's house is like my dream house with a garden, and I just like how Nobetiong plays his part in this environment. I have always had the impression that he's a low-energy, mostly bold actor. Like, I hated him in Tokumbo. You can see the review on my channel, but I really liked him in this one. Zizi dotes on her grandfather a lot, and he gently eggs her on about finding love and things like that. It was a cute dynamic. He's a sick man, but I don't think he is able to get through to her before he actually passes on at the end of the season. The minister's son is really intent on dating her, but she presents conflicting faces to him. One moment she doesn't want to speak with him, the next she agrees to go on a run with him, but then leaves him in the dust before he can even get started, etc. Zizi's half-sister, Buddy, is an Instagram influencer who is always living her best life online. And very soon she begins to get love bombed by a secret admirer who buys her expensive jewelry and takes her out on dates. We see that all is not quite what it seems when, for instance, he decides to order for her at the restaurant. But Buddy's brain is blinded by the glittering bracelet he bought for her, so she just smiles even wider. The man is serious with his intentions and actually wants to skip the whole dating process to marriage as quickly as possible. He has a consistently dark streak though. For instance, in one of their outings, she spills a cup of juice on him and he gets outrageously furious. He is properly furious since he's going to a business meeting, but outrageous if he is wooing the person who spilled the juice. Again, another hint that all is not well somewhere. But also, just look at this dress. My lord. I loved it so much. She soon discovers that he is married and then lashes out at this, but he again surprises her to break fast and breaks her defenses by reminding her of their unique culture and religion and how much he's willing to take care of her and other stuff. He really does want to marry her, and she begins to warm to the idea. Naima, played by Jemimah Osunde, is a troubled business owner who has a love-hate relationship with her pills. She is struggling with anxiety and panic attacks and may have been a drug addict in her past. So she's secretly seeing her therapist again, but it seems her real problem is that she doesn't take out time from running her different businesses and stuff to actually rest. With her keen eyes, she is able to notice that her brother Kasim has the hots for their mother's bodyguard. Now, Kasim is a strange character. He always seems to have the answers to life's problem and always has something to say. But I don't suppose that he is very well written, because for me, he just seems to appear when needed to say the things that he needs to say. And this is more apparent in season 2 than in season 1. For example,
if it's work, you can delegate and micromanage.
You can't say delegate and micromanage because they are on the two opposite ends of the spectrum. If you are stressed about work, micromanaging instead of delegating to someone else is what will actually give you high blood pressure and kill you. So yeah, that's my problem with Kasim. He seems to be calm and calculated and have the answers and can comport himself, but there is really no depth to his character. Khalifa is a mother of 2 intent on going back to school to study architecture as her husband promised, but her husband isn't having any of that at the moment, and the woman has to be content with teaching art class and bringing up the matter every now and then. Sometimes she gets a bit lost in the sauce, like when she forgot to pick the kids from school, and that escalated very quickly. Her husband is a very traditional man who didn't appreciate Khalifa pitching from her side hustle money, but I actually ended up liking the husband a lot as we come to understand that he was under a lot of pressure from work stuff and basically just took it out on her. He redeems himself to an impressive degree in season 2 especially. Her brother Amir is currently trying to date Jemimah, but Jemimah is just keeping him at arm's length and not having any of it because of her mental state. Now, Suraya, who is a step cousin to Zizi, aside being the sister to the Antichrist, can be a complex character sometimes. Like, you can tell that she really wants to hang out with the other girls and be seen as a friend, but she isn't really in their league, and they kind of subtly just keep her at arm's length. I think the thing is she always wants to help on her own terms, and if she is turned away, she becomes unnecessarily malicious. So basically, the worst kind of friend to have. Now, Jemimah has to travel to Lagos to oversee the opening of the branch there, so she puts Soraya in charge of her business in Abuja, and this beautiful generational cost of a person just quickly turns the store into her own little fiefdom. She also has a huge crush on Kazim, and we see her visiting a native doctor in order to get a love potion to try and enchant him. Kazim, who Suraya is pining for, is furiously chasing her police cousin Zizi, almost to the point of embarrassment since he sometimes gets in the way of her work at his mother's office. Zizi has this weird character flaw where she cannot seem to tolerate being dead to do something. For instance, she was invited to ride on a bike with Kasim and she refused, but then he dared her and then she agreed. And interestingly, he later gets her riding gloves as a gift, which is weird since she does not have her own bike. In another instance, towards the end of the season, Kazim dares her to face her feelings towards him, and her response was to put on some lipstick, then drive to his house to go and warn him. How do you put on lipstick to go and warn a man? Well, welcome to girl math. But the end result really was that she just needed a boy in that tomboy. Naima, played by Jemimah, runs into an old flame in Lagos, and then things start to get a little passionate. And so he asked her to stay a bit longer to set up a business while they get to know each other some more. So it seems that they had been in a relationship previously, but Jemimah had to break things quite suddenly because that was when she began having these are mental health issues, and she just moved away from the state without actually letting the guy know. She basically just cut him off. So it's been a few years now, and they've just run into each other and recalled some of the feelings again. And of course, as a millennial, when you catch feelings for someone, you don't tell them. You just go on their Instagram page and like all the pictures like a serial killer. They spent such a long time before talking about their previous relationship that I honestly just thought they were two people who knew themselves briefly before. Knowing what I know about their history, I would have expected the guy to maybe cause a scene when he ran into her. So I don't know what the lovey-dovey liking on Instagram thing was for right from the beginning. For all he knew, she was married with kids. And this show also made me realize that I really have some thoughts about Jemima's voice. Now, in small doses, it's actually very cute and she sounds like a teenager. And it's difficult to believe that she was 26, I think, at this point when this series was filmed. But the problem starts when she begins to speak for an extended period without interruption, or when she begins to shout. Her voice becomes very shrill and difficult to take serious. So it's like a mosquito whining. Our stylish baddie on her part is so love-struck that she has accepted a marriage proposal from this her rich admirer before ever telling her family or friends. Of course, this is a big deal for her family, but Baddie just puts her foot down and insists on the marriage to this very strict, very controlling guy that they have never met. Now, I know Baddie is driven by material things and attention, despite being from a wealthy home. But when her response to
So introducing another man is just like poking a sleeping tiger.
Was
Love me. But now I'm beginning to think that you love me even more than you love your wife.
I was like, did she also fall on her head down the stairs as a baby? Because from where to where? For some reason, the baddie, uses what seems to be the oldest phone in this show. Probably an iPhone 10 or 10R, XR, which I found odd. I don't know if it was a mistake or something, but yeah, don't blame me for noticing. As I was saying, Baddie's parents end up inviting the guy for dinner and accepting him probably because he's rich and he said all the right things and went to the same university as Baddie's father. So it just all works out well for them in the end. No. It works out for her family, not for her, as you soon come to find out. Kazim, while secretly dating Zizi, is being heckled by his mother to choose like a proper Hausa wife as soon as possible. And as time goes by, she begins to notice some weird looks between her son and her bodyguard and basically figures out what might be happening. Okay, so this video is officially too long for an old show, so I'll just try to hurry it up. So it's episode 6 and Baddie's introduction is in full swing. Naima is back to Abuja while pursuing a long distance relationship with her old flame. Everybody's on ground for the party and things get wild very quickly. So let's start. Kazim's mother publicly announced to the hearing of Zizi that her son has now found a woman to marry. By the way, I noticed that the Miriam that was announced in this episode is not the Miriam that actually acts in season 2. So I think the actresses were switched. Yeah, okay, back to the show. Now, Zizi doesn't actually react to this news. It's Suraya, Zizi's cousin, who has a crush on Kazim and who is currently charged with doing some makeup for Baddie, who gets unnecessarily furious and walks out on the engagement. Naima goes to confront her and things get really wild really fast, and I love this scene so much. Suraya accuses Naima of being a user who doesn't respect people, and she's kind of right. And honestly, Jemima's shouting voice in this scene made me laugh so hard. You know, when you're shouting with your mouth very close to the standing fan, how you sound. She's a great actress though, but her voice, god damn. Suraya even reveals that Naima's brother Kazim is sleeping with Zizi. Badi comes to see what the problem is and then begins to make a fuss, begins to accuse Naima of trying to steal her shine on her engagement day. Naima strikes back and talks about how Badi is loyal to nobody and doesn't respect anybody. Halifa comes to regulate all the shouting and settling and waiting as the married woman, and they both just pile on her, calling her out on her newly acquired maturity after marriage. And then Naima says,
"You can't be saying these things to us! What is wrong with you? You're going to hurt our friendship!"
and I just burst out laughing. Halifa was going to be the moderating voice in this quarrel, but then she just switched gears and went,
And Suraya was right, Naima. You're a user. Just the way you raise Amir's hope so high and you just dump him away just like that.
nah, it was a brilliant scene. The writers saved the best for the last episode, and this is not even my best scene yet. Zizi is really pissed at the news that her secret boyfriend has a wife already in mind, and she deals with her anger by trying to make love to this punching bag, because that is certainly not how people punch things, Zizi. Okay, let me go to the wedding proper. How will I ever finish editing this video if I'm still talking at this point? So we have a very colorful wedding. We see that Buddy's husband is not really into dancing. He's a very stern, strict guy. So she's basically just dancing by herself on her wedding day. Jemimah has now been dealing with her feelings about that her old flame. Now, the problem with this whole relationship thing is that he's Igbo, he's Christian, and he's basically alien to her way of life. But somehow at this wedding, she gets an epiphany and decides that the love was worth returning to Lagos for. So she leaves the wedding early after having a panic attack in the toilet. I love how this elderly woman just ignores a young woman crying in the toilet. It's also funny. It was at this point that Jemimah gets into her car, all packed up for Lagos to be with her Christian lover, that she begins a monologue, which was nice, but which sounded very shrill and childish because of her voice. I laughed really hard. Unfortunately, she never makes it to the airport before her phone falls from her hand, and while trying to reach for it, she gets into an accident. Zizi, who is standing guard at the wedding, receives news that her grandfather has just died, so she had to leave the wedding in a hurry to go home and see what's up, blah, blah, blah. And after the wedding, we open up to my best scene in the entire series. First of all, it has beautiful camera work, and secondly, it is a character-defining moment for Buddy. Okay, let me describe it. Bride and groom return home. The groom is sulking because his bride was dancing sinfully or lustfully at the wedding. Now, bear in mind that during their courtship, this guy has been very controlling and very weird. Buddy doesn't even know yet that levels have changed, and she wanted to talk him out of his mood by leading him to the bedroom. And he replies her by giving her a very dirty slap. Weirdly, giving us my best shot in this show. So we see him walking away from his weeping bride on the ground, subtly flashing his red bottoms as he moves to the bed and sits facing away from her before creepily turning to her direction and to us. And I thought it was just so beautifully done. Now, until this moment, I was not the biggest fan of Buddy's acting. She acted like she was very aware of the camera in her face. But after this scene, and by that I mean season 2, every scene with Buddy became a hit. Literally and metaphorically. It's like the slap brought out her talent. Else, the role of a scorned woman fit her perfectly, because she became pretty much my favorite character in season 2. And okay, yeah, that's the end. Finally, jeez. I hope I'm able to. Holy hell, look at the size of this video. Okay, so let's do my verdict quickly. I found the show super refreshing. It was beautifully shot, beautifully edited, beautifully written. I loved many of the moments, and everyone was at the top of their game. While watching, I had the impression that the director, Nadia Ibrahim, actually went through each scene with the comb, making sure that every shot was perfect. I loved it so much. I saw this on Prime and I was streaming it with high-speed internet, and it looked so shiny. It was like I was in the scenes with them. So if you watch this on your phone or you download it from elsewhere, you are not going to get the full effect of how superbly beautiful this series is. Like I mentioned before, I was totally in love with the housing locations. The furnishings were really wonderful. Nothing sometimes they have this mid-century European vibe that I love so much. I think the director deserves as many rounds of applause as possible for how well this whole thing was put together. For the visuals, I'll give it a 10 over 10, especially for a drama. The audio was also very tastefully done. I love the opening theme song, and I think the show in general is just in a class of its own, at least as far as I've seen. I don't have a lot of experience watching Nigerian series, but this made a very big impression on me. I say a big congrats to everyone involved. I really didn't want to do a show this old, but then I saw it on by recommendation of one of my subscribers, who it turns out is Zizi, the main actress in this show, and I just had to do it because it really wouldn't speak well about my intention with the channel if I saw something that looked so fantastic and then decided I didn't want to do it simply because it was too old or so. The color grading, the art direction, and the soundtrack were all wonderfully done. I honestly have no complaints or anything to nitpick technically. It's just awesome. I've also heard people say that season 2 is bad. I have my own thoughts, but we'll see if I do ever get to review that one. Though I kind of doubt it. This is an old show, so I don't really actually expect the video to do well. But you know, it is what it is. I just love making this sort of videos. Oh, by the way, guys, I am trying to grow my social media. So if you're on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter, please follow me at Equi Reviews. You can see the